Hello, this is Riding with Ree, and today we are doing things a little bit differently. I'm here at the Scenic Supper with Alex Harrison. Nestled in the Cotswold Hills, the Scenic Supper is a uniquely intimate dining experience. I first interviewed Alex a year ago, dialing into a Zoom during lockdown with him in his house and the dogs pottering around in the background. Since then, we've kept in touch and I've seen him achieve great things, including a new string of horses, some fantastic wins in 2021, taking on a new agent in SRPR Marketing, but also go through some immense personal loss. When I had the opportunity to bring a guest to experience the Scenic Supper's tasting menu, he was the first person I thought of. We settled down for an interview over cocktails before heading on to lunch. I hope you enjoy this week's video as much as I did making it. If you do, don't forget to subscribe for part 2 with my second guest. Honestly, Alex, there is no one I would rather do this with. Not only am I really dying to hear more about the horses and what you've been up to this year, but I also know that you're the biggest food snob in the world, so...
I am. I'm gonna go either really cheap, like chicken nugget, or really high end. So
there's no in between.
There's not much in between, and yeah, I'm labelled as a bit of a fussy eater, so it's going to put them to the test today, I think.
Well, cheers to that.
But the gin and tonic so far.
Yeah? 10 out of 10?
Mm-hmm.
Good to know. So Alex, you are an international Grand Prix Dressage rider. You are the UK's youngest List 3A judge, and you are the co-owner of the beautiful Collective Equestrian with your partner.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'm really excited to hear about the new horses that you have rides on this year. You're also now represented by SRPR Marketing, which is very exciting. They obviously represent some of the sport's greatest riders, including yourself, naturally. And you also have a new partnership with Charles Owen, so I can't wait to hear about all of that. But let's start with the horses. Could you talk about some of your new rides for this year?
Yeah, so I mean, at the start of this year, I didn't really have many horses, for various reasons. Some horses need a bit of time off, and unfortunately I lost my top horse at the end of last year.
Yeah.
But I've been really lucky that, Emma at Mount St John was like, we can't have you without horses, and I've got horsepower. She liked me as a rider, so I've got a 6-year-old called Barney, who's really cool, and he's like a little fireball. You just got to get the best out of him, and the stronger he's getting, the more he starts to swing, and he's going to be a really cool horse.
Nice.
And then there's Nev, another 6-year-old, who was originally with Spencer Wilton, and then so he's now come to me, and he's just a really good guy. Those horses you get on, it's like sitting, in an old armchair, and they just feel so good.
Yeah.
He's one of those. And then more recently, Top Secret, Rosie, who has been ridden and trained really well by Amy Woodhead.
Nice.
She can have a little bit of an opinion at times.
Mez,
yeah. But actually I really love Mez. I really get on with them well. And Amy's done a fab job with her, and that she's kind of passed the reins over a little bit because she's, with child at the minute. And then Marge, another one from a woman called Catherine in Wales. And she's a 5-year-old, and then my very special new 4-year-old Vamoosh, which came from Anna Ross down at Newton. So,
lovely.
Good string this year.
Yeah, good string, and lots of different stages, lots of different ages, different kind of personalities, I guess. I've had a few conversations with dressage riders recently, especially off the back of the most recent Olympics, about how we structure our dressage in the UK versus, say, our Dutch riders or German riders. What is it like as a rider to have people who step in and say, we can't have you without horses, like we need you moving up through the levels? Like what is it like to have that kind of support? And do you think it reflects, is it a very British thing, or do you think actually the Dutch and the Germans do that as well?
I think probably the Dutch and the Germans do it better.
Tell me more.
Well, at the end of the day, it's a huge compliment. If somebody's like, here's this horse that I've bred and I've poured my heart into growing it from a foal, and now they want you to ride it. It's a really big compliment. Emma at Mount St John's always been really good at placing horses with riders. It helps advertise the stud, but also it does the best by the horse as well. But abroad in Germany and Holland, you will find a lot of the time that the young riders are riding on ex-Grand Prix horses from the professionals. They're much better at passing them down.
Okay,
Whereas
interesting.
I think a lot of the time in Britain, people are still out doing Grand Prix on their like 19-year-old. They're like holding on. They don't want to stop, which is, you know, it's fair enough. But I think there is more of a culture in Germany and Holland and other European countries of passing rides down to give young riders, junior riders, a bit more of a step on the ladder. And I think in the UK we could probably be a little bit better at doing that, because at the minute we just rely on teams. Well, the teams are built on people with lots of money that can kind of go, okay, right, here's a horse that I bought, rather than it being passed down. So
yeah, I've heard this a lot from other dressage riders. Actually, it feels like our initiatives in sport are maybe set up better in other countries, and as you said, it feels like perhaps the rides are sat with a few riders, or at least controlled by a few private individuals who have a lot of money. Do you think we're missing out on what could be some really talented young riders because they're not necessarily getting the rides or the opportunities? Or
I think I'm not sure whether we're missing out. I think it makes it harder for them. You know, at the end of the day, if a rider really wants to do it, they're going to beg, borrow, steal. They'll, you know, steal money out of their nan's purse if they need to go and get a horse.
Rogue, Alex. Is this a reflection on your youth, or?
I've never done that to my nan. But you know, if somebody really wants to do it, they're going to go out
find
and
a way.
do it.
Now, you did speak. You touched on Damo there briefly, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, of course, but I do want to acknowledge that, you know, 2021 was a pretty amazing year for you, but of course at the end things got very difficult. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about what happened in December.
Yeah, so it's one of those things, you know, saying if you've got livestock, you've got dead stock, and you know, it's a really harsh reality that we do all have to deal with. But yeah, you know, 2021, like, won Wellington under 25, the international, had, you know, came second in the Inter 2 at Somerset. Like, we had some really good scores, and then we went and did the Europeans out in Germany in Hagen. So, you know, you kind of think on top of the world then, and then I was actually at Olympia on the Saturday evening, and then, you know, got a phone call from the girl saying he's colicking and you'd better come, and I thought, you know, he's colicked once before, and actually, you know, just lunged him for a bit and he was fine. So I was like, stop crying, don't be ridiculous, like, just lunge away and you'll be fine. But they're like, no, he's not great. So yeah, unfortunately, we lost him that night, and you know, it's a huge blow, because actually, you know, that's 7 years of work really that you put into a horse, and you know, you miss them, you miss their character, but also you kind of miss the aspirations you had kind of made for the rest of their career.
Yeah.
And you know, it happens so quickly, but yeah, that's what we have to deal with as part of the sport. And you know, as horrible as it is, you know, I think if you can, you know, be sad for a bit, but then take a step back and go, right, how do I move on from this? And I think that I've managed to do that pretty well. I think this year.
100%.
If anything, it made me more determined to go, right, come on, get a grip,
get
on with it. So yeah, I know it's not fun, but
yeah. I'm really glad to hear it, and I'm really sorry that happened, and I did want to acknowledge it, because I think it's a pretty big thing. As you said, you're not only losing a personal partner, but also a competition partner. So, but I'm really glad that I hope you were able to take a little bit of time to back off from all the many businesses and clients that you have, and I think everyone was very supportive. So I'm really pleased to hear it. So. Moving forward again to 2022, I guess. So more recently, of course, you started being represented by SRPR Marketing. So they've obviously represent some of the world's best riders, including Carl Hester, Gemma Tattersall, and Alex Harrison. But what is it like to be? Firstly, what made you make the decision to be represented by a PR company, and what is that like? What does it mean to be represented by a company like that?
Well, I think my initial thinking behind it was, you know, I'm really busy pretty much every day, you know, kind of running from here, there, everywhere, you know, riding horses, teaching people. So social media, you know, it's pretty much a full-time job to do it well.
100%.
And, you know, people are getting better and better and better at it. So I kind of thought, actually, you know, if I'm going to, you know, make a bit of a headway in this industry, you need social media now. So, you know, Scott had messaged me a few times before and kind of said, you know, why don't we do something? And I'm not sure I need it, but you know, actually after Damo as well, I kind of thought, you know, it's an extra foothold. You got to try everything. So they kind of help me strategize a bit with my social media. He tells me off when I'm being a bit lazy with my social media, because I kind of go, oh, I've done that post, that was lovely, and then I look back, oh, that was a month ago. So yeah, I think it's just a bit of support there. You've got to build a bit of a network around you to help with these things, and it's just nice to have somebody that you would trust their opinion, and you can just bounce ideas off, and they can point you in the right direction, show you to the right people. It's just one less thing I have to really worry about.
Yeah, in a very busy schedule. And you mentioned about, being better and better at social media, and you're clearly aware of what that can do for your career. Obviously, you have your professional aspirations of where you want to get with your horses, but has that changed over the last year in terms of bringing more of the other aspirations, for example, working with brands like Charles Owen? Have you got other goals in that line of work as well, or is it just like, actually this is all feeding into what my riding professional career would be?
It's all feeding into my main goal, which is be the best rider I can be. I want to be in Olympics. I want a gold medal, and I'm pretty bloody focused on that. So everything in my mind has to support that, and if it doesn't support it, then don't want it.
Yeah.
Because you can see some people on social media, and they're building a really big following, and they're pitching themselves as riders, but I think they get distracted by the social media. So I think that's one thing I'm keen not to do, is let that get in the way of my own competitive career. But things like Charles Owen and having these brands behind you, one, it's a confidence boost, because again, it's like a company like Charles Owen, they've been going around for, I think it's 100 years or 120 years, I think it was this year. Having them behind you is, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So all those things are really just feeding into that kind of machine of trying to get me to where I want to go.
There's definitely a Drake lyric in there somewhere. I'm sure he says in a song about rappers getting distracted by selling sneakers instead of rapping. I feel like you're the Drake of the equestrian world here. So alongside being a professional rider, you obviously run Collective Equestrian, which is a beautiful, beautiful yard placed between Bristol and Bath with your partner Johnny. You've been doing a lot of work there in the last year, and you actually just told me off camera that you are building a swimming pool at Collective Equestrian.
Right.
And he was quick to point out too that it wasn't for the horses.
They don't need a swimming pool. I need a swimming pool.
For when days are just a little bit too hard.
Well, at the end of the day, if you feel you've achieved, sometimes when you have a ride and you're like, I rode that sublime. Those days, and you might have a free hour. I want to lie by a pool.
I love how you're not like, it's really good as a professional rider to like swim at the end of the day. You're like, no.
No, I'm thinking gin, and I'm thinking just floating on a lilo. There's no kind of fitness regime to that.
I love it, and it's very Alex. So alongside the pool, you've been doing a lot of things to Collective Equestrian in the past sort of year. So what's been going on? Because I feel like it's been quite stressful having all the building going on there.
Yeah, we had it was nearly 5-6 months we had builders on site digging up the concrete on the yard, putting new driveway down. We've redone all the paddocks for the horses.
Yes.
Because we used to have these wire fences between everything, and we never had any accidents. We had a few near accidents, and we just thought enough's enough. Just post and rail, curved corner. I mean, they're beautiful, these paddocks.
They really are.
They are kind of a bit of a love of mine.
Yeah.
And we've redone the whole floor plan of the yard so it all flows a bit better. We used to have lorries that park next to the outdoor arena, but if you've got one bouncing around on the lorry and you're trying to school, it can be a bit distracting. So new car park, and the whole thing just flows a bit easier and nicer, and it's a prettier place to be.
Yeah, it's lovely. And of course you're really focused on dressage liveries of all levels, I guess.
I don't particularly care what somebody's at. If they want to try and work hard, then I've got all the time in the world for them. What I don't like so much is the ones that just want the fun lesson, because you can do that every now and again.
Define the fun lesson, Alex.
You should not enjoy dressage. Dressage is not to be enjoyed when you're younger. But the fun lesson is the one where you take everything and you link it all together and you have a great time.
Yeah.
Which I think you do need to do every now and again. But some people want that all the time. But that's not training. Training is let's find the problem. Let's work on the problem. Or Your horse is a little bit stiff today, so we just do suppleness stuff. We don't need to do the exciting things. And the people that understand that are the ones that make the most progress. So I really like people if they come and they're pretty open, and they might come to me and say, right, I want to do my first medium level test, and I say, right, we're on a 20-metre circle today because it's not through. And the people that stick with it are the ones that get the results in the end. So yeah, I don't mind what level you're at, so long as you're willing to put in the hard work as well as reap the rewards as well.
I think it's helpful for people to know that, because often I do think, I include myself in this, prior to knowing high-level dressage riders a bit better, I think you do feel slightly intimidated that you're going to show up on Woody, for example, and if he's not on the bit and he's not coming through properly, are they going to judge me and they're not going to want to teach me? But I think actually what you've said here is that there are so many basics that all levels of the sport work on, and then actually there's satisfaction at every level.
That's nice.
As long as you
go on the bit. Hey, give them a couple of days off.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
What are the ambitions for Collective Equestrian in the future? Are you hoping more liveries, the same amount? Are you hoping to do more stuff on site for people who are coming in and out? I think you mentioned earlier that you've got people coming down to stay from Yorkshire to have lessons with you. So
yeah, so we put in this year, we put in a new barn, which are just 4 stables as an overnight stabling. So if people want to come from further afield, they can, and they can stay the night, train, have another lesson the next morning. So that's been really good, although at the minute I've filled them with horses. But
whoops.
but that was the idea. And I think kind of where we're going with the business is just increasing the amount of training we bring in, and also there is a farm next door which I do have my eye on, because it would be quite nice to breed a few of our own youngsters and buy and sell a few horses, so that I have my eye on at the minute.
Would you promise you let me come and see the foals if you have your first one?
Yeah.
Okay. You heard it here first.
What I'm doing, by the way. So we could do a series on this, like learning as you go.
How to build a foal.
Like Escape to the Chateau, where they buy this like derelict thing and then they have to do it. It'll be like that, but with
ponies.
With ponies.
I love it. You heard it here first. We're going to make this happen.
Yeah.
So that's where the future's going. Build a pony, Escape to the Chateau Equestrian Edition. What is a typical day like now?
So a typical day is I wake up at about 6ish, and then brush my teeth. All hygiene is important, and then I go straight in the car, go to the gym.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, and
first
then
thing.
I do an hour at the gym first thing every morning, and then come back, and then just start riding. And at the minute, kind of 6-7 a day, so that will take me until about 1:30, and then from about 1:45 2, I then start teaching, and then that takes up most of my afternoon. And if I get a spare moment, I get on my lawnmower and cut the grass, which is kind of a secret obsession. Actually, it's not secret at all. It's just an obsession of mine. I love it. I get on my mower. I've got a new one which I can spin on the spot.
How much grass are you? Okay. So it's not like it's an indulgence where you have a tiny lawn. You are actually.
Yeah, I'm being a farm hand.
Okay.
A handy man.
Is that your sort of secret ambition, to become a bit of a small holding person?
Yeah, and I kind of, if there's a field to top, I jump on the John Deere and top it, but I get to a certain point every year where I start to look a bit ridiculous. I'm just going round with tissue shoved up my nose as my hay fever gets through.
Oh my God!
So I'm there, my eyes streaming, my nose, it's not attractive.
It's not for the gram.
It's not for the gram. But good song on the headphones and get the stripes on my lawn and I'm happy.
Wow, I can totally see that too. So I want to go back to the gym, which you mentioned. Obviously, it's become very fashionable for dressage riders to spend a lot of time in the gym, working on core, balance, Do you have a trainer? What is it that you work on in the gym? And is it related to your riding, or is it just like a fitness, mental health thing?
I think, so firstly, I'm going to be one of those people. I do CrossFit.
I can see it, to be fair.
Anybody that does CrossFit, they say they do CrossFit. But to be honest, I do it because I just enjoy it. I think it's really good for the riding. I feel stronger. I can ride 6 horses and I'm not tired at the end of it. But I just think, the first thing in the morning, get up, get down to the gym. You can't think about anything else because you're in so much pain and you just want to die.
Is that
it's a bit hardcore.
It's very hardcore.
But, you know, and at the end of it, you feel great. So,
Okay.
yeah, by 8 o'clock every morning, you've achieved something. So,
I love that. So, aside from the lawnmower and the foals, what are the plans for this year? What are you hoping to achieve this year and maybe 2023 as well?
So this year, obviously for Top Secret, I'm going to try and do qualify her for the Nationals at Prix St George into 1.
Nice.
And then the younger horses, I've got one that's going to go for the advanced mediums, one that's going to go for the mediums, and just try to stack up a few, down the levels and take them to Nationals. For my 4-year-old Vermouche, it's really going to be about just letting her see the world. I think the young horse classes are actually really good for that, especially the British Dressage, which used to be the Shearwater one. You go in with another horse, so there's 2, and you can follow each other.
Yeah.
If you need to put in a circle because they're about to tank off with you, you can put in a circle. I don't particularly care how they do, because it's the judge's opinion. I just want them to go and have a nice time and feel that actually when they then come out as 5 and 6-year-old, they've had a really good
they feel good about the experience.
Yeah, and then hopefully maybe with Rosie as well, put in a bit of the Grand Prix work, and then she might maybe do an Inter 2 Grand Prix next season. See how we get on.
Quick fire questions to end our little interview. If you could ride for one other Olympic dressage team, who would you ride for and why?
Barbados, because I could train in Barbados. They don't actually have a team at the moment.
Okay, I was going to say.
I've talked about this before, and I could start a Barbasian dressage team, because then I could just train in Barbados.
In the heat? Like all day?
Early morning on the beach, lie by the pool in the afternoon.
Okay, I'm seeing pool as a theme coming through here.
You love a pool.
For the lifestyle. Okay, good to know. Would you rather make a mistake at the start of your test or at the end?
At the end.
Why?
Because I think at the start, they actually did a study on this one year, and the horses that had the best extended trot in the Grand Prix, so you halt, turn left, and it's the first real movement.
Oh wow.
The horses that had the best extended trot, then percentage-wise were higher marked on every single other movement, because judging is subjective, and we're only people.
Yeah.
So they just had it in the back of their mind that they gave a high mark there, so they were more confident to give high marks later on.
Interesting.
So I think if you were to work it out mathematically, you're better off to have a mistake at the end than the beginning.
Love it. Would you rather be at a show and have to stay in your lorry overnight in the middle of January, or be at a show with all of your tests spread out so long that you had to wait from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m?
I would rather stay in January. Yeah, I like to kind of get the test done.
Yeah.
And then normally there's not a pool at a show, but maybe.
And then maybe a dip in the pool.
Yeah, maybe a gin.
Well, on that note, I think we should probably end there and let you get back to your pool and indeed all of your lessons this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me, Alex. I really appreciate it.
It's good fun. Thank you.